Hi, Louie.
Hi, Gavin. How's it going?
Good. Happy holidays.
Jingle.
Or happy holidays.
Ooh, yes. Happy holislays.
You better work and holislay.
God, we could go on forever.
Yeah, and no one wants that.
Yeah, no one wants that.
Yeah, exactly. Least of all us.
Welcome to the Mixed Reviews, everybody.
Hello, I'm Gavin.
I'm Louie.
And the Mixed Reviews is a podcast in which we take a film subject, such as an actor, director, or a mini genre, and we talk about it. We talk about what works and what doesn't work, and give you a brief history.
Yeah, we're talking about all sorts of things. We're mixing the reviews.
Yeah, these reviews, they're mixed.
It's, we're recording early in the day.
Yes, yeah, this is rare for us.
Yeah, it's holiday season, so it's so busy.
It's super busy, guys. But we love you, and we want you to have an episode.
And we love morning bagels.
Yes.
We're here with our orange juice.
I do want to say, the whole point of doing a holiday episode is so that when you want to get away from your family, you can put in your headphones and listen to us, and we'll be your new family.
We're accepting applications
Exactly.
right now. You know,
this is a strictly sub-dom relationship.
Yeah.
And
you need to apply.
Yeah, we're the doms.
Yes.
You and our audience are all our subs.
We're the doms, but also the dumbs.
Yeah.
Just like super dumb.
This got extra merry real quick. Very, very holiday-centric oriented.
Happy holidays, sis.
Yes.
Mary. Before we get into this extra holiday special episode, we wanted to do some old business.
Yes.
Last episode, we talked about Michael Keaton.
Yes.
With our very special guest,
Christy Pochko.
She's so fucking smart.
Yeah, so you say that with such anger.
I was like, Gavin, how dare you bring on this smart person?
It's funny, I got so many compliments, and I must say, yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
Compliment me.
Got so many compliments, none of them were for me.
Yeah, and that's literally, everybody was like, oh my god, your guest Christy was so good. Including my roommate and friend, Andrea, was like, she's so smart. Great.
It's like so weird, like listening to the podcast and like hearing someone smart.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on, Christy.
Thank you for making us sound even stupider. But we asked you guys to vote for your favorite Michael Keaton movie, and the results are in. My pick, The Paper, came in at 4%. That probably is my vote.
I think there was at least 3 votes for that. I want to say 3.
Amen. Yeah. Love you all 3 of us. Let's leave. Batman Returns, which was Christy's pick, that was 19%. Birdman came in at 22%, and Beetlejuice, your pick, came in at 55%.
I was not expecting to, I mean, A, I rarely expect to win, but,
keeping the bar low.
Yeah, exactly. But B, I don't know. I was not expecting that much of a runaway lead for Beetlejuice.
People love them some Beetlejuice.
People do love them Beetlejuice.
I'm more surprised that Birdman beat Batman.
Yes, more than anything, I agree. Batman Returns had a strong lead for a while, and then I think Christy retweeted it, and her friends are apparently big Birdman fans, so they probably really love me based on my comments.
Yeah. We had a couple people say that the founder was mentioned.
I was really happy somebody was like, my heart wants to say Batman, but my mind wants to say Batman, but my heart wants to say Much Ado About Nothing.
I know.
Which is something we barely really talked about, but I actually genuinely really love his performance in that movie because it's so broad, and so it's very unique to the film because everybody's doing very traditional Shakespeare, and he's really playing up the comedy.
A version of Much Ado About Nothing is...
Yeah, it's really good. I had never seen it before, and it's my friend Bo's, like, one of her favorite films. And
it's hard to say. Is it Emma Thompson?
Emma Thompson.
So good.
So there's the woman that plays her...
Kenneth Branagh?
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh. When they were a couple at the time. So
there were people on here who were really loving a lot of crazy Michael Keaton things. Kylie says that she loves Gung Ho.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's... not correct.
I was like, please listen to our episode.
Also really enjoyed Pacific Heights, which, is a choice.
I will say the one thing I regret not saying on the Michael Keaton episode is nobody does an amazing 50-yard stare like Michael Keaton, because that Pacific Height is just him staring menacingly at people over and over again.
Anyway, we had a great time talking about Michael Keaton, but that's over.
It's done. Sorry, Michael.
Although,
it's not even your real name. I mean, Michael is, but Michael Douglas, whatever. You know what I'm saying.
You get it. I will say it's a nice tee up to this holiday episode because Batman Returns is a Christmas movie.
Batman Returns is my favorite Christmas movie.
But for this episode, we're talking about ho 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 himself, Santa Claus on film.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this one. It's so strange. It's so weird.
It is so fucking weird, Gavin.
I think there's more Santa Claus movies than people think there are, and more genre-defying Santa Claus movies that people think there are.
So I was like, okay, for me, I was like, I'm gonna watch stuff that is about Santa.
Yes.
Just because a Santa appears in a movie,
right.
I was like, oh, this is about some fucking angel, get out of here.
Yeah, it would be really, like, as much as I love A Christmas Story, and I love the scene where he goes to see the mall Santa, like, that's a mall Santa.
Right.
That's not Santa.
Same thing about, Elf. It's centered on, Will Ferrell's Elf character, Buddy. It's not.
Right. There's a Santa in it, but
the movie is
about Santa.
The movie is not about the Santa.
Right.
So that's kind of the limitations we set for ourselves. And surprise, there's still a shit ton of movies.
There really is.
And the genre is so weird, and it runs the gamut from like super sugary, uncynical, like, where are you, Christmas?
Yeah.
And then, like, murder.
Yes.
Literally murder.
There are so many Santa horror movies, and it all started with 1980s Christmas Evil. And I gotta say, you fucks are twisted.
I don't know what the deal is with people and taking something so beautiful and pure in this time of year. But it's like, you know what? What if, like, Santa murdered people? What if Santa went to Mars? What if Santa, like, fought the devil?
Yeah.
So many weird things.
You saw Santa Claus?
Oh, I sure did.
Yeah.
I sure did, Gavin.
Okay, well, then I think it's time for us to get in our rewind, because I'm excited. I'm overjoyed with holiday.
The spirit.
Yeah, the spirit. Would now, since we're in the rewind, be a good time for me to tell you I don't like Christmas? No.
What a fun concept.
Yeah, what a fun way to start the rewind.
Is it because you're, like, dark-sided?
Yes, yeah. Halloween is my favorite holiday, and I know that's really basic, whatever, but I love it. I love the idea of, like...
Just get it out of the way. You love Nightmare Before Christmas.
I like dressing up. I like being somebody else for an evening. I like begging for candy. All facets of my personality.
Yeah.
And so, like, I like the concept of Christmas. I like the idea that giving is better than receiving. Naughty.
Hello.
And I like that I like the, like, peace on earth, goodwill towards men aspect of it. I'm not particularly religious. It's not my thing. But, like, it's commercial, so... I mean, Christmas is so commercial and so fluffy, and so, like, I don't know, it feels very, I hate to be that guy to be like, Christmas was invented by Hallmark, but it feels like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, a lot of movies explore that. I think, like, one of the most interesting things about watching these movies, it was, so, like, there was a Wikipedia page where it's like, here are the subgenres of Santa Claus movies, and one of them is, like, questioning and believing.
Yeah.
And there's so many movies where it's like, there's always a Scrooge-like character, and they're like, one of the villains in a movie I saw, The Year Christmas Almost Wasn't, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
And the villain is Mr. Prune, and he, like, hates kids. Honestly, Mr. Prune is a mood. He's like...
Mr. Prune's a mood.
He is a mood because he's like, I fucking hate kids, laughing, get out of here, politeness, don't want, and he, like, he, like, is the landlord of Santa. It's so fucking weird.
If Christmas came in June, we'd say good afternoon. We don't care if it all makes sense. The name of the song is Prune. Prune, 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 spoon, moon, June. Prune, 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 spoon. Apricot? No, prune.
It's all just about, like, no one gave him a gift once. Like, and a lot of people, like, there are a lot of movies where it's like, I finally got the gift I wanted. There's also a lot of, like, really sad things where it's like poor people are like, Santa's not real because I'm poor.
Yes, there's so fucking much of that. Yeah, but that's part of the part of Christmas that I don't like, the grossness of the idea that it's about materialism and it's about capitalism and like gifts that you get and that always upsets me when but admittedly there is one Santa Claus movie I like where the characters are poor. But watching that I'm always I
mean, like, I can't remember which. I think it was the same movie. Mr. Prune is bad because he never got a gift as a child.
Right.
And at the very end, they're like, the elves are like, we found your letter. It was, like, hidden behind that's why you never got a gift, because Santa never got your letter. And oh, no.
That's a very common theme as well, is the idea that the one gift, the gift that got away, I guess, is the thing that turns you evil. It's your supervillain origin story.
Yeah, truly.
Which is also a little gross as well, but...
And also, I mean, that 80s movie, Santa Claus.
Yeah, that movie is
fucking weird.
I was going to rewatch it for this, and the only thing that kept me from rewatching it is I watched it so much as a kid, I feel like I could recite it, and also it used to weirdly terrify me.
I had never seen it before, and this is just like kind of another trope that I saw a lot, is like, where there's the poor person, like a kid on the streets who doesn't believe in Christmas because he's poor and like has never gotten gifts, and then like a rich kid who's like, no, why like, and I was like, why is this little rich bitch being like, Santa's real, look at all the gifts I get.
Right.
And meanwhile, the kid's like outside, like soot on his face. I was like, okay, this is weird. But anyway, we're jumping ahead of ourselves. Santa's like first movie, was coming, it was a short film in like way back in 1897, a silent short film called Santa Claus Filling Stockings. A lot of these early shorts, were just like Santa doing things.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really like
Santa doing things, going places, being a girl about town.
Yeah, exactly. Very that. And he's literally, like in this one, he's literally just filling stockings from, his red sack. Another one was made called Santa Claus and the Children, was made in 1898. And these are all just like, I think, the art form of film was being, crafted. And in 1900, there's a Santa Claus's Visit. It featured two little children kneeling at the feet of their mother and saying their prayers. The mother tucks the children snugly in bed and leaves the room. Santa Claus suddenly appears on the roof just outside the children's window and proceeds to enter the chimney, taking with him his bag of presents and a little hand sled for one of the children. So like these are all very simple, kind of, either just showing the like, I don't want to say myth. It's kind of like, what does Santa do?
Right.
And then as the time goes on, you get a lot more of like the origin story.
Yeah.
Situation.
And that becomes a big theme in a lot of these fictionalized films. And I mean, some of it comes from literature beforehand. There's an L. Frank Baum story about Santa Claus. L. Frank Baum is the man who wrote The Wizard of Oz. So you get these ideas in popular culture of trying to build a mythology around Santa that's perhaps different than all of the other versions of Santa from around the world. Because there's also, we'd be remiss to not mention, even though we're specifically talking about Santa on film, every Christian culture has their own version of a Saint Nicholas, a Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. Yeah, exactly. Black Peter. Oof.
Ugh, rough.
Rough. Let's not talk about that. So there's all these different versions of Santa Claus, and film has tried to present them in many different forms.
Yeah. In 1925, there's a 29-minute silent film production titled Santa Claus, and it was done by explorer documentarian Frank E. Kleinschmidt. And it was literally filmed, partially in northern Alaska, and it featured Santa in his workshop visiting his Eskimo neighbors.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure those Inuit people love to be in that movie.
Yeah, they were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Santa Claus has always had great star quality, and the movies took notice right from the start. In fact, his cinematic debut goes back to this rare film, It's All Here, The Outfit, The Reindeer, the toys, and a Santa with a very long lens who knows exactly who's been nice or who's been naughty.
It does get a little confusing because a lot of these movies in the early days, they're just called Santa Claus.
Yes.
And there's so many. Over the years, a lot of actors and a lot of different representations of Santa Claus have made the rounds. And there's almost like too many to bring up, but like, in 1942, life begins at 8:30. In 1966, like we mentioned, Christmas, that almost wasn't. That was literally, honestly, I will say about that movie, great bops. Santa Claus films vary, and here are some like themes, I guess. A lot of, like we said, are about Santa Claus and his origins. There is also like the stop motion.
Yes,
films.
that's one of them. The A Year Without Santa Claus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah. There's a sequel to Rudolph, which has the New Year's baby in it. Santa's also in that. One of the things I love about the Rankin and Bass animated Santa, which is the company that did all those claymation films, is he's not that fat.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of just a daddy. It's
The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus in 1985, and that was the first one. Or was it Santa Claus is Coming to Town? It was Santa Claus is Coming to Town, 1970. And literally it's like kids asking our narrator, like, why does Santa wear red? How does reindeer fly? And it's all just like answering questions, where elves come from, and just like, questions.
Oh, I've got lots of letters for Santa today. And every year they're the same. Some ask for toys, but a lot ask questions. Like you take this one. I bet one of you wrote it.
Dear Santa, why do you wear a red suit?
Uh-huh. I thought so. And this one.
My turn. Dear Santa, why do you come down the chimney when I'm asleep?
How about these?
Why do you have whiskers?
Why do you live at the North Pole?
Why do you leave presents and
Why do you always come on
Why is your
Christmas
sleigh
Eve?
pulled
Why
by
some
reindeer?
people call you Chris Tingle? Why?
Now hold on. I can answer all your questions because I know everything about Santa.
So 1970, the first Rankin Bass stop motion animation television specials come out, and they're so ingrained within the culture now. Like when you see, in Elf, we see a lot of like the claymation. Was the elf in these a dentist? One of them
in the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, he wanted to become a dentist. Right?
Hermes is his name, I think, and he wants to be a dentist.
Is it Hermes or Herbie?
Is it Herbie?
I have no fucking idea. The two of them are Santa Claus Coming to Town and The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. Those are the first two, and they're based on L. Frank Baum's children books of the same name. And there's a lot of movies that are talking about the origins of Santa. We mentioned, I think it's like 1985 Santa Claus, and that was like a huge swing for like a blockbustery, very
Hermie, just Hermie, just one,
not one Hermie,
just one.
It's very the 1985 version is very just like completely dripping in saccharin. They tell the tale about like this Saint Nicholas who would go into the snow, and like he was saved by the elves because of prophecy, and
there's a weird prophetic aspect to it,
and the elves find him, and him and his wife, even though he calls him mother, and it's so fucking
it's
weird.
very Mike Pence. No one likes that.
Disgusting. And the elves, I feel really bad. The portrayal of elves in Santa Claus movies ranges from like children, like actual children, like actual children playing children playing elves, and then like little people, and then like in this movie it's Dudley Moore. It's Dudley Moore, and they're the same height as it's just
they're just enslaved people. That's another thing that we cannot talk about Santa without mentioning. Are the elves enslaved? Like, I feel like that's a huge part of this.
They only like work to do. I don't know. Like in this movie, Santa Claus, the elves are like, oh, the prophecies are fulfilled, and even in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, they're like, we love making toys, but yet we have no way to give them away, so we have to throw away the toys. And thank God some fucking bro comes over with a sleigh, and now all of a sudden they can like deliver the toys that they've been making. Even though like Santa Claus's whole fucking deal is that he's a master toy maker.
Right.
But in some movies, the elves make toys, he's kind of just like management. It's weird. I don't know.
One thing I will say that I hate in real life is having a supervisor who can't do my job.
Santa.
I gotta say, if I were an elf, I'd be unionizing.
See? But also there are some movies where Santa is an elf.
Yes.
He's just like the
big elf.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is the HBIC elf. Another theme of Santa Claus movies are the questioning and believing movies. The classique, of course, is Miracle on 34th Street.
Yes, yeah.
The original was in 1947, starring Natalie Wood. And
I love that movie, I gotta say.
Yeah. And Edmund Gwenn, who won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Which is so crazy to think about, that somebody could win an Academy Award for playing the character of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But you also have to watch this movie.
Yeah.
In this Christmas classic, the state of New York drags him into court for asserting he's the real Santa.
What is your name?
Kris Kringle.
Where do you live?
That's what this hearing will decide.
You believe that you're Santa Claus?
Of course.
And I know there's a remake, and the remake's fine. I don't want to shit on the remake. It's
Who's the woman in the remake? Is it, from Weeds?
Mara Wilson plays the daughter.
Yes.
Elizabeth Perkins plays the mother, so not the one from Weeds, but very similar to Mary Louise Parker. I can see.
Well, no, not Mary Louise Parker, but I think she's also in Weeds.
Is she really? Oh, she is. Yeah. Oh, I never watched
the neighbor.
Weeds. I got 3 episodes in and was like, not for me.
Mara Wilson, who is so good. As a child, like, growing up and watching her, I was like, she is the child in all the movies for me. So Miracle on 34th Street is about this woman who is in charge of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and she needs to hire a Santa for Macy's, and this real Santa Claus, he thinks that the one that she's hired is a drunk and an idiot, and so he kind of steps in, and he becomes a huge hit. He's so popular, and the mother's whole deal is that she, like, doesn't want to lie to her kid, and again, she's just like, I'm being practical, I don't want to fill her head with crazy notions. They live next door to a hot dude, and the hot dude believes, and antics ensue, and they have to prove in court that Santa Claus is real, and quite the journey. Honestly, I recommend both of them. The remake, for some reason, Macy's would not participate.
Yes.
And so the store is Kohl's, not Kohl's, K-H-O-L-S,
but C-O. Yeah. I actually remember particularly liking the remake. I probably saw, because the remake was 94, I probably saw the remake before I saw the original, but there's something really classic and beautiful about the original, and I don't just mean that it's black and white, and I know that's a turnoff for a lot of people, but there's a real magic quality to, I don't know, the innocence. It doesn't carry, as much schmaltz, sort of as the remake does.
We also have The Polar Express in 2004.
Yeah, the most terrifying Santa of all. Motion capture Santa.
Yeah, that movie, I don't know how I feel about that movie.
I've never watched it because I know Robert Zemeckis loves his motion capture, Uncanny Valley nonsense. But that's what it is for me, is it's too Uncanny Valley, and I look dead-eyed and creepy, and I don't like it.
I just didn't know what that movie, was trying to say. I was like, I watched it, and I was like, okay. It's kind of like this indictment on this kid for, not believing, and, he can't hear the bells because he doesn't believe.
Okay. I believe.
What was that you said?
I believe. I believe. This is yours.
Wow. Thank you.
Me, pick me, Santa.
That was scary. It was scary. There's also Santa as a Hero. And now we can talk about the 1959 film titled Santa Claus.
Yes.
It's a Mexican production.
It is. I saw this movie as a teen. My friend Tim introduced it to me, and it is crazy.
Cuckoo bananas.
Yeah.
Is the way I would describe it. Santa allies with Merlin, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
Also, Santa does not live in the North Pole. He lives in outer space.
Yeah. Also true.
Correct. And where he has children from all over the world working in his workshop. There was a full, 20-minute, I don't know, just prologue of him being like, oh, and look, there are the kids from Kenya.
Yes.
And it's these little African kids, playing a song. Like, oh, look, there are the kids from London. And it kept going. I was like, certainly we do not need to go through every, like, stereotype of children that Santa Claus...
You're like, a plot is going to happen at some point, right?
And it sure does. So Santa works with Merlin to, like, get a magic key to enter all doors and, like, a flower that makes him disappear, I think.
Yes, yeah.
And the devil...
Oh, yes, a demon that goes by the name of Pitch,
yes.
I believe. One of my favorite bits in that movie is when the narrator just says, "Tough luck, Pitch."
Oh, yeah, it is Pitch. Yeah. Pitch is sent by the devil, Satan himself, to, like, ruin Christmas and, like, kind of fuck with Santa a little bit. There's a great portion where... And when I say demon Pitch, he's in a full red unitard, red makeup, horns, and he's just, like, the most classic, like...
Could Santa be coming down this chimney now? Uh-oh, he's all right, but that was close.
Oh, my goodness.
Pitch is foiled again.
Also, this movie was filmed in Spanish. It is redubbed. And so when you're watching it, you're like, what the fuck? This movie was so popular, though, it ran, like, they would run it every year throughout the 60s and 70s, like, re-releasing it into theaters.
Yeah.
Because basically the movie is super Catholic, because Mexicans really just, for traditional Mexican culture, Santa Claus is not the tea. It's all about the Virgin Mary, and it's about Jesus.
Right.
And so they were like, what is Santa? Well, he definitely teams up with Merlin to fight Satan.
I want to read this real quick. There's an opening bit of narration that just says, "Away up in the heavens, far out in space, in a beautiful golden crystal palace right above the North Pole, lives a kind and jolly old gentleman, Santa Claus, also known as Saint Nicholas, the best friend of boys and girls everywhere. But let's move in for a closer look. Come along."
Yeah. It's so weird.
It's bonkers. There's a really excellent Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode about it. It's from the 5th season. It's episode 21. And it was done on Christmas Eve of 1993.
Amazing.
So a year before the remake of Miracle on 34th Street.
And this is truly the time when, like, Santa starts getting fucking weird. In 1964, we get Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yes.
Which is...
like it's a Cold War film, essentially, right?
It's about, like, Martians who their kids are sad because they've been watching American or, like, Earth TV. Earth TV's talking about Santa, and Martian kids want Santa.
It's a very anti-communist, like, they're like the kids in Russia who, like, don't get religion, so they,
What'd you find out? The toy shop was operating full blast.
2 dolls.
2 dolls, yes, Betty.
The story itself is as old-fashioned as you can get. Gentle Santa brings the spirit of Christmas to Earthlings and Martians alike.
We also, obviously, in The Night Before Christmas, Santa is the hero in that. You get him in, like, Rise of the Guardians. There's a lot of...
We mentioned Rise of the Guardians in our superhero team episode. And I do want to say one of my favorite weird depictions of Santa Claus, and I'm weirdly glad they kept it in, Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, in which Santa shows up to give everyone weapons.
Of course.
Exactly.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir.
These are tools, not toys. Bear them well and wisely. Now, I must be off. Winter is almost over. Things do pile up when you've been gone 100 years.
We also there's a lot of movies where it's about, like, who's going to be the next Santa.
Yes.
The succession of Santa. The classic, I think, is, or for me, the classic is The Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen, where the Santa Claus with an E at the end is, if you put on the jacket, you're fucking Santa.
Yeah. One of my favorites as a kid, and they used to show it in my school on film. They would bring in a film projector, and they would show Ernest Saves Christmas every year, a movie in which Ernest P. Worrell famed movie character,
Yes.
is attempting to convince a TV show host to be the next Santa Claus.
You see, I took over the position of Santa Claus in 1889 from a German chap. I enjoyed every second of it.
Then how come you don't want to be Santa Claus anymore?
No, it isn't that, you see. With the passing of time, the magic fades.
I've got some jumper cables in the back if you need recharging.
No, Ernest, it's recharged through the passing from one person to the next. That's why Joe Carruthers is so important. I've got to make him the next Santa Claus before 7 o'clock tonight. Or, I'm afraid, the magic of Christmas, the joys, the feelings, will be gone forever.
And let me tell you, the portrayal of Santa Claus in that movie is really good. And one of my favorite things is his bag is full of essentially crystal balls. And then once you touch the crystal balls, they become the gift that you truly want.
Oh, that's cute.
It's a really nice,
I like
it's
that.
like a weirdly nice thing that I feel like should be implemented in more Santa Claus movies.
Yeah, just like touch it in like a bag of bacon.
Yeah.
Love that.
Oh, are you in my mind? Is that?
Yeah, yes. This Call Me Claus, 2001, starring Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, it was a TV movie, and she's destined to become the next Santa Claus. And what's great is, we've talked about Whoopi before.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Whoopi Goldberg could correctly be Santa. I would believe it.
I love that Disney and ABC was like, yeah, let's get Whoopi. We want a Sunday night Christmas movie, and Whoopi is the new.
It's just funny to me that it came out like,
2001.
Yeah, it comes out after the Santa Claus, and it's essentially the same sort of plot.
Yeah, they were like, oh, who's next?
Yeah.
Arthur Christmas also is a really, I thought, a very fun animated movie, and it's from England, and it is so English in that.
Yeah, it's Aardman Animations, famous for Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, and their portrayal of Santa is kind of like the royal family. It's a family, and basically Santa retires and his son becomes the next Santa, and it's like a family of Santas who's been Santa for like 70 Christmases. After 70 Christmases, the son passes on the traditions. I really liked Arthur Christmas. It was so cute, and yeah, I liked it quite a bit. And then finally we get to like imposter Santas.
Yes.
That's like our bad Santas, which I saw for the first time, and I was like, people like this? People wanted more of this? Poor Lauren Graham. She's had to do some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I will say, I came into this saying, there are 2 Christmas movies I will not watch just because I already don't like Christmas and I don't need it reinforced to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Elf is one of them where I'm just like, I don't give a shit about this. And also Bad Santa, which is what you're referring to. I just don't care. I do not care.
Imagine having to like be on screen and utter the lines, fuck me Santa, fuck me Santa, fuck me Santa.
I'm an eating, drinking, shitting, fucking Santa Claus.
Prove it.
Fuck me Santa, 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 fuck me Santa.
Oh, can I at least take this hat off?
No! I love that! I love that!
Okay.
No!
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Poor Lauren Graham.
Poor Lauren Graham.
But there's also like, I think one of the most famous imposter Santa things is How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yep.
And the 70 billion versions we've gotten of that now. But the most classic is the cartoon, the one that Dr. Seuss actually gave them the rights to do. And there's that great moment where Cindy Lou Who sees the Grinch and thinks he's Santa. And I don't know, it's really nice and very sweet.
He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou who was no more than 2. She stared at the Grinch and said,
Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?
You mentioned that, there's a Santa in A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
He's a faker.
Jack Skellington himself in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes. And also the darker imposters.
Yes.
Which I saw none of. I was like...
There's the entire series of Silent Night, Deadly Night, which only the first 3 are about an evil murderous Santa.
And then what is it about?
The 4th one's about a coven of witches, and the 5th one is about an evil toy maker.
But when Santa strays too far from his kindly image, the public won't stand for it.
You've made it through Halloween. Now try and survive Christmas.
We love Santa! We love Santa!
Because of protests, Silent Night, Deadly Night was pulled from the theaters within a few weeks of opening.
I think we should have the movie out because Santa don't go around killing people.
It is a symbol, however, of goodwill and love, and I think to desecrate that is a problem, particularly for young children.
But one of my favorite imposter Santas comes from the 1972 Amicus horror adaptation of Tales from the Crypt. And it's an anthology film in which there's lots of little stories about things happening. But the best one is An All Through the House, starring Joan Collins. She's a woman who kills her husband on Christmas Eve. And after she kills him, she hears on the radio that there's this... she knows this, but the audience hears on the radio, there's a serial killer running around dressed as Santa Claus. So she's basically going to blame this murder on this serial killer, but then he shows up at her house. And of course...
The serial killer shows up at her house?
Yeah. Of course, she tries to call, she gets him outside, keeps him outside, locks the doors and everything, tries to call the police while she's distracted trying to call the police. Her little daughter lets him in. Yeah, it's the best. It's so good. It was remade in the 90s for the Tales from the Crypt TV show by Robert Zemeckis. It's not as good, but it's fun. On the Christmas horror movie front too, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the foreign horror movies, which I think are somewhat usually better than ours. There's a great one.
They're less precious.
Yeah, there's one called Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale. It's from Finland, and it's about Lapland, where there are these race beings known as the Julapuki, which are they're the modern day Santas, and essentially it's a group of people who capture these feral old men and make them into mall Santas.
Wait, but feral men?
Yeah, they're creepy, and yeah, and
they turn him into mall Santas.
Yes, I believe so. I think that's
kind of horrifying. Just spend your days as a mall Santa.
Yeah, and they're exporting them, that's, and so there's that, and it's like violent and kooky and strange, and,
it sounds like black market, like human trafficking, but for Santas.
Yes. And I was actually just introduced to this morning, so I didn't get a chance to see it. It's a Dutch film called Sint, also known as Saint in Europe and Saint Nick in the United States, and it is about the Anglo-Saxon Santa Claus, but as like a zombie who comes back to life. And unfortunately, he does have Black Peter minions in that movie. Yeah. Yikes.
So watch at your own risk.
Yeah, watch at your own risk.
I will say this episode also just a minefield for shitty children actors.
Yes.
You know how I feel about that?
Yeah. Neither of us are fans.
No. But I will say Mara Wilson, so good in 30 American on 40th Street. The kid in the Santa Claus, I remember I watched that so much as a fucking kid. I thought he was very good. Once he gets a sister in the second and third one, I was like, no, shut it down. Yeah. Also, in the second and third one, we get Abigail Breslin's brother.
Yeah, Spencer Breslin, who's annoying as fuck.
So fucking annoying.
But we do, at least for the first two movies, still have David Krumholtz as who should have been in the third. The third one's bad, though. I don't want to talk about it, but...
And that kind of leads us to, like... we have all these, like, weird dark ones. There's a new Christmas Santa Claus movie on Netflix right now called The Christmas Chronicles.
Starring Kurt motherfucking Russell.
Cannot fucking believe. I watched her. It was a choice. It was a choice. I will say, good for us and, like, special effects and CGI now, I guess. But
that's me not spitting out my orange juice.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, no, I did not like her.
Yeah.
My Santas,
I didn't do it. I know.
It was good for you. Honestly, I just love, I want my Santa to make me feel sparkly and warm inside. I don't want, Gavin, he literally utters the, like, I don't ho ho ho, that's fake news. I fucking wanted to scratch my eyes out and just self-destruct.
I don't feel like I'm spreading rumors, and I don't want to defame anybody.
Okay.
But good sources, I have it on a couple good sources. Kurt Russell himself is a very secret conservative.
That feels very correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, guys. And if anybody wants to contact me, I can give you my sources, but I'm not gonna.
She's got receipts. Is there anything else we want to cover with this rewind? There's just so many movies. A long history. It feels like every couple of years, like the big studios want to come out and like, what's the big Christmas family thing that's going to get people to come and pay money to, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like now, especially Christmas movies have very much turned to the TV streaming world. I forgot to mention, Fred Claus?
Yes, Fred Claus. I forgot about Fred Claus. The Vince Vaughn,
when Vince Vaughn,
masterpiece.
When Vince Vaughn was like still popular, I guess. And again, like, that movie looks so expensive. Like, not only is it just Vince Vaughn, but playing Santa Claus is Paul Giamatti. Elizabeth Banks is in that movie.
Yeah.
Rachel Weisz is in that movie.
Oh fuck no!
She's Vince Vaughn's love interest.
No.
Ludacris is in this movie.
That's Ludacrismas.
Fucking hate you so much. I also want to mention I watched a documentary about Santas.
Did you?
I did, and it's called I Am Santa Claus. It was produced by Mick Foley, also known as Mankind from the WWE. And they follow around, I want to say 5 or 6 men who it is their livelihoods portraying mall Santas. And there's so sweet. There's a gay one who lives in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've seen this before. Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good. If you can find it, I recommend it highly.
When I finally found out that there was any such thing as men who liked men, I knew that was what I had been all along.
Oh, well, I don't just do real estate. I also take pictures of the Easter Bunny.
I make mean barbecue, ribs, pulled pork.
I'm on staff of what is popularly called a sex club. And you'll notice it says right here, no nudity at the buffet.
Also Mick Foley, who he's like, I love Santa so much. And it shows footage of when he was inducted in the Hall of Fame of Wrestling. And Santa Claus is there with him.
Friend of the show, Ted, who I used to co-host Midtown Comics with, got to meet Mick Foley because he came for a signing for Midtown Comics. He came dressed as Santa Claus.
Amazing. Yeah. There's also the president of the Santa organization.
Yeah.
It was controversy because he's part of a swingers club in Oregon. I was like, we contain multitudes.
That's the thing. These people gotta have lives. They gotta have lives.
So why don't we move into our picks, Gavin?
Absolutely.
Let's get our 1-star picks out of the way. Yeah. I think there's no bigger whiff than 1985 Santa Claus the movie.
Yeah. I was almost gonna pick that one, so yeah.
It's just so ambitious. It's a 1985 British-American Christmas film. It stars Dudley Moore as Patch, who is an elf who is trying to be Santa's assistant and be his number one dude. David Huddleston is the titular Santa.
It's the titular role.
Uh-huh. And it was a huge bomb, you know, it was
released by TriStar, but it feels like a Canon film. If anybody doesn't know what Canon is, they were a cheap movie company. There's a great documentary about them called Electric Boogaloo that you should watch, but it feels like that. It
feels so cheap, but also they are trying to at the beginning of the movie we find these, it's olden times and shit, and they're people in this house being like, where is he? Santa, like, it wouldn't be Christmas without him.
Yeah.
Santa Claus arrives he has 2 reindeer, and he has his wife, who he calls mother, and they deliver presents, and they're like, well, we gotta keep going. And at this point, he's not like Santa Claus as we know him now. He's just a dude who's delivering presents to like the villages up in the north. He gets lost in a big snowstorm, and basically he's gonna freeze to death. Like, his reindeer are like, bye. But they're saved by the elves who find him.
Little people. We prefer to be called elves, if you don't mind. You. I'm the one called Dooley. We've been expecting you.
Expecting us?
For a long, long time. We almost gave up hope.
Where are we?
Home.
Oh, no. Our home is far from here.
Not anymore. This is your home now.
The prophecy has come to truth, and they don't have any real kids, so like they're giving kids to all, like giving choice to all the kids in the world, and this like weird like fucking spaceship looking thing appears, like whatever.
Yeah.
You meet the elves who they just look like regular people, you know. They're not small, they don't look particularly elven. I think
like Burgess Meredith and Dudley Moore, and
and you see, I mean, I will say, the workshop looks pretty impressive. Like, there's a lot of, like, things going on. But, a lot of these movies, I think they take on too many to try and be like, oh, and this is Blitzen, he's really fast. And Prancer, it's like, girl, I don't give a fuck. Like, let's get this shit going. The story doesn't really take off until, you know, time passes by. There's, like, this weird thing that happens, like, in the 17th century where it's like, he sees a bad kid who's like fucking with a cat.
Yeah.
I think.
It's dark.
It's very dark. And Santa decides, okay, we're not going to give kids toys to every kid. We'll only give it to good kids. I was like, it took you 200 years to...
Yeah. You know, Santa, slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
Only gets out one night a year.
True. We're in the modern 80s New York, and John Lithgow is the president of BZ Toy Company, and like the feds are on him because his toys are like bursting into flames. Patch has made automated system at the toy shop, and it fucks up though because the toys, even though they're automated, they're not made as well, and so things are falling apart. And for the first time ever, Santa's getting bad PR. And so they're getting returns. I don't know how the fuck you return a toy to Santa Claus, but alas. And so Patch, kind of like in shame, leaves the North Pole, goes to New York, encounters BZ, and essentially teams up with him unknowingly. Like, he wants to prove to Santa that he can be a big help. BZ essentially manipulates him they give out a free present to everybody, and it's a lollipop that makes you fly, because they give him the hay that made the reindeer fly. Meanwhile, there's like this little orphan kid and this rich lady.
There's so much going on. It's a 108-minute movie, which is so much for a kid. I mean, I remember watching it on TV as a kid a lot, because it used to just always be on during Christmas time. And with commercials, that would basically become like a 3-hour afternoon. It would start at like 1 and not end until, I don't know, like 4. You know, it's crazy.
It's this fucking, there's nothing terribly like joyous. It feels very forced and heavy-handed. And I can take, you know, sugary and sweet Santa Claus movies, like, it is what it is. But this movie was trying to, this is too fucking weird.
Yeah.
And not in a fun way. It's not in a Martian way.
It's funny because I know it's 85, so it's years after Superman the movie, but this movie was also produced by Ilya Salkind. And Ilya Salkind is the son of Alexander Salkind, who together they produced Superman the movie. And I really feel like he was trying to do for Superman, or do for Santa Claus, what he did for Superman. And I don't understand why he would do that.
I also just don't understand the politics of like this movie. It's like, in some movies, Santa can't be found out, or like things will fucking go crazy. Other movies, Santa's like straight up be like, "What up, everybody? It's me." Yeah. It feels always like in some parts of this movie, it's like, "Oh, we got to keep it a secret," and other parts, it's like, "Whatever, bye."
Yeah.
This movie also has a lot of like New York porn, I guess, where it's just like, we're in the sleigh and we're going underneath the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
And, I just don't like this movie. Don't watch this movie. There are better Santa things to experience. This is not one of them. Also, the ending of this movie has like this crazy like power ballad from like the 80s. And not in a good way.
There's plenty of bad Santa movies as well as good Santa movies, as you mentioned, and you did bring up the Santa Claus, so I want to mention, I genuinely, for some reason, do like the second one. I don't really like Tim Allen, but I do like the second one a lot. I think I just really like the woman that plays Mrs. Claus. And I like the scene where he gives the presents to all the teachers, and it's what they've always wanted. I don't know why. I'm such a, my heart melts for that stupid nonsense. But I remember, so I have a niece who's now 20 years old. She was born when I was in my teens, and I sort of helped. She lived with my parents, and I helped raise her. This is more information you probably need about me, but so every Christmas Eve, I would take her out of the house so my parents could wrap presents and distract her. And we'd go shopping, and we'd go to a movie. And so I saw a lot of really bad kids movies. And one year, she wanted to see the Santa Claus 3.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell ya, that movie is garbage.
Yeah.
Santa Claus 3, which is the third and final nail in the Santa Claus coffin.
I feel
it's subtitled The Escape Clause.
The Escape Clause, right. The second one is Santa Claus 2,
The Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
So The Escape Clause is, returns Tim Allen as Scott Calvin, the current Santa Claus, and brings in a villain, which is something I thought was the strangest thing, because essentially the other movies don't have villains, really.
Right.
But Martin Short plays Jack Frost. Now, if I had to pick between Tim Allen and Martin Short, you best bet I'd be in the Martin Short camp.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, it's fucking annoying in this movie. He's essentially playing Jim Carrey playing Jack Frost. And and essentially what it is Jack Frost wants to take over Christmas. He wants to be the next Santa Claus and freeze everybody.
Yeah, he's upset that he doesn't have his own holiday.
Yes. There's the council of legendary figures, consisting of Mother Nature, Father Time, the Easter Bunny, Cupid, Tooth Fairy, and Sandman. And what I think is really funny about the legendary figures is most of them don't have a holiday. Like, we don't have a Father Time holiday. We don't have a Sandman holiday. And
they tell him, they say, like, you're not, what do they tell him? Like, you're not, they say you herald a season. You're not, a holiday, like mascot or whatever.
And much like most fun, Christmas movies for children, there's a scene in which the council decides, since he's been promoting himself during the holiday season, if they should sanction him or not. Because nothing is more enjoyable to children than sanctions.
Right.
But yeah, so his goal is to trick Santa into renouncing his position, so he can take over and the season's all about him.
Let me go! That coat belongs to me! No, Frost, that coat belongs to him.
You got him!
This guy was huge. Yeah, well, I'm Santa now! You don't look like Santa.
You killed him!
Did not. What that coat, amigo?
Dad! You gotta see this!
Charlie? Charlie! Stay away from amigo. I want the coat! Why? Because you make such a good Santa? Because all the elves love you? All those people you took money from, they love you? Listen to me. Being Santa's not something you can take. It's something that chooses you.
Things don't go as planned because they never do for the villains. He gets arrested by the elf police. And everything turns out all right. I mean, he freezes everybody. Everybody else gets unfrozen.
Well, also this movie has like a weird, like the B plot is like Mrs. Claus is pregnant.
Yeah.
And she's missing like the real world, I guess.
Yeah.
They essentially drug her parents and like get them to the North Pole, and they're like, welcome to Canada.
Yeah.
And I'm not Santa, I'm just a toy maker, and these are all my
employees.
Yeah. And he's like, why are they so small? And he's like, well, Canadians are very small people. It's fucking weird.
It's just really frustrating because it's one of those movies that feels like a cash grab. It feels like we didn't have anything planned for a third movie, but we needed to make one because the IP is still hot and kids love this. And, it's such a waste of time. I don't know how to say it more than that. Like it feels like a waste of time. And Margaret plays Mrs. Claus's mom, and it makes me sad to see that. I mean, I love Anna Margaret, and to see her wasted in a piece like this. And also really bummed about the fact that Peter Boyle, who I brought up in the Robert Redford episode, it was the last film that came out before he passed away from cancer. So I just feel bad that like his last legacy is this piece of shit.
It's not good.
And also Tim Allen sucks. So
you're not wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, it's real garbage. And it's not really Christmas. It's like, there are lots of movies that are like quote unquote Christmas movies because they take place at Christmas. But if you're going to be a fucking Santa Claus movie,
yeah, be
about Christmas.
Yeah.
Like this movie's not about Christmas at all.
Yeah. And there's like a big portion. So like, spoiler alert, Jack Frost does the thing.
Yeah.
And he has turned the North Pole into a theme park.
Yeah.
And you have to like, essentially it's pay to play. You have to like get a ticket to go to the North Pole to get presents and stuff. The only but the only fun thing about this movie is they like time travel, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. There is a bit of time travel.
And they show like original footage from the first one, and I was like, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But
I always love when people try and wrap this story around, but it's not a good wrap. It feels partially like the IP cash grab that it is. Yeah.
Totally.
But, so that's our 1-star reviews, but why don't we find the best star of all, the 5-star reviews?
This is going to be controversial, but I have no regrets, no shame. I have to say that my 5-star review is actually for the first Santa Claus.
I don't think it's controversial. I like the first Santa Claus. It's fine.
I forgot how, I rewatched this movie, and I found myself knowing all the words.
Remember when he's being questioned by the police and they're asking what his name is, and he says, Popo Gijo!
Yes!
Yeah. I've seen that clip a lot. I was once young.
Popo Gijo used to be my, password.
And it still is now, kids.
Uh-huh.
Get your Louie nudies here.
Show me on Hotmail. My Hotmail account password definitely was Popo Gijo. I thought that fucking bit was so funny. He's like, Santa Claus. Popo Gijo. So, here's the thing. The Santa Claus is about Scott Calvin, who does work at a toy company, and he's divorced from his wife. He has a kid named Charlie. Charlie, who is so cute, so adorable, and just does not grate on me at all.
Yeah.
Essentially, he has to spend Christmas Eve with his son, his ex-wife, and her new husband, played by Judge Reinhold, who, the joke for him is, he's a psychoanalyst and wears ugly sweaters.
Yes.
And essentially, they just have, a really shitty Christmas Eve. Scott just really is not... The original character, I think the reason why this movie works so much is you see such a big change between, his original character. He's not a Grinch. He's just kind of he's just, he doesn't like his, ex-wife's new husband, and he is making money, and he wants to do things, and it doesn't really involve his kind of, very, cheery kid. He, is reading him A Christmas Story, and he, speeds through it, and then the kid's like, oh, the best fucking... A clatter. In the story, it's, up on the roof, there is a ladder, but they say a clatter. It's fucking brilliant. And then when they go outside, so they hear something on the roof, turns out it is, in fact, Santa Claus, and you get the iconic Tim Allen being like, hey, what are you doing up there? And Santa, freaks out, falls, and then just, disintegrates.
I was gonna say, it's one of the few Santa Claus movies for children that starts with a murder.
Yeah. Literally, yes. The kid, and again, just kind of, the theme of this is, also believing,
Right.
This kid, really believes in Santa. He sees Santa. There's a reindeer on this fucking roof.
Right.
Tim Allen is this is a joke. What this can't be, what's the, and what gets him is, Charlie is how come everything I want to do is stupid?
It is Santa! You killed him!
Did not. And he's not Santa.
Well, he was.
He's got some ID on him, I bet. Fella, if you can hear me, I'm just looking for your identification. Once you figure out who you are, I'll give you a lift back to the mall. If something should happen to me, put on my suit. The reindeer will know what to do. Yeah, right.
And he's really just asking him, put on the suit and let's like deliver the presents. And so he does, and they have like a wild night. There's like that really funny scene where they're on the sleigh and he's asking for directions.
You know, now that you're saying this, and I'm not trying to circle back, but I think that's why I hate the third movie so much, and I actually like the other two a lot better, is because the other two are genuinely about, as much as they're about Christmas and Santa Claus, they're about human relations. And the first one is about his relationship with his son. And you get that he's not a great father, but he wants to be a better father. And the second one is about his relationship with this woman who he really likes, but she's closed herself off to people. And also how, like, he doesn't have good relationships with other people. He has an ex-wife who, like, basically likes him now because he's Santa Claus.
Right.
But, like, didn't really get along before. And so the third movie doesn't have any of that connected. Like, the big human relation thing is her parents.
Right.
It doesn't do anything for that.
Yeah, and they're kind of like assholes. Like, I feel like the second one is better than the third one, but I think both of them just, like, it's hard. I much prefer, like, the story arc of, like, him becoming Santa and, like, that change. And, like, I didn't need anything else, you know? Like,
oh, no, and there definitely didn't need to be sequels. But if there's going to be, like, I'd prefer it be done like the second bit where there's some heart and what feels like some reason to do it, you know?
So essentially in the Santa Claus, the reindeer just take him straight to the North Pole. And so him and his kid go to the North Pole, has a really great moment with, all the elves are so cute. And then, like, the little girl elf is like, I made you hot cocoa. Special blend. And he has this, like, really fucking wild night. He's like, what the fuck is going on here? The head elf, is it Rolf?
No, what is his name? I was just reading it too.
And played by
David Krumholtz. Bernard. Played by David Krumholtz, who, first of all, fucking brilliant to make your head elf Jewish.
Iconic.
Yeah. He's gonna work on Christmas, you know?
He's got some time.
He's got some time.
And has this kind of wild night, and he wakes up, and essentially they say, the Santa Claus, you've triggered the Santa Claus. And on the card that they find, it's
the joke is clause, like in a contract, like a clause.
And the whole point is, if you find the suit and you put it on, you are contractually obligated to become the next Santa Claus. And so he wakes up and he's back at home and he thinks he's had this crazy dream, except he starts gaining weight really fast. His beard, every time he trims it, grows back really fast. A list is delivered to his apartment. It says to make sure and check it twice. And Charlie also is like, Dad, you're Santa. And everyone's like, what's happening? And they think that, Calvin, Scott Calvin, SC, Santa Claus, get it? They think he's trying to manipulate his kid into liking him more. Charlie now only wants to spend time with him. There's a really heartbreaking scene where they, like, take custody away from him. And it's kind of just like him coming around to the fact, like, you know what? I am fucking Santa. I have to do this.
Right.
It's a sweet movie. It's funny as fuck. Do I like Tim Allen's politics? No. But I saw this movie all the fucking time as a kid.
Yeah.
And, it's truly just, he has, like, the qualities of, like, you know, it's earthy. It's not too removed.
Right.
Like, it feels like you could know this Santa.
Right.
He's not like a mythical, otherworldly being. Yeah, and like I told you, my mom called me and said, it's just so clever. Who would have thought of that? Claus?
I love your mom.
But I digress.
I really bummed I didn't get a chance to meet her this year when I could have. It's my bad.
You fucked up.
Yeah.
You fucked up, Drag.
You know, I donated.
What is your 5-star review, Gavin?
See, you're not going to like this. My 5-star review is, and it fits our rules, I want to say, by the way, I'll get to it, and I'll try not to be spoilery, but it's a 1980 psychological horror film called Christmas Evil.
Okay, I guess.
Also sometimes known as You Better Watch Out and Terror in Toyland.
It has all three of these names?
Yes, it was directed by Louis Jackson and it stars Brandon Maggart. One of my favorite things about Brandon Maggart is he is the father of Fiona Apple.
What?
Yeah, that's right.
And he's making evil Christmas movies?
He's the star of an evil Christmas movie.
Wow.
From 1980. It was considered obscure for a really long time, but then it got a cult following. It's a very, very, very cheap production. So cheap. But essentially, the plot is, in suburban Jersey, in Christmas Eve, 1947, this young boy, Harry, sees his mother being groped by Santa Claus, but it's his father dressed as Santa Claus. It's basically the song "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus," but it takes a turn. He basically, like, it mentally scars him. You know, he runs upstairs, goes to the attic, and accidentally cuts his hand on a snow globe. And 33 years later, he works in a Jolly Dreams toy factory, and everybody hates him. They make fun of him, and so he decides he's gonna get his revenge. He's gonna become the true Santa. He starts sleeping in his costume. He does his apartment up in Christmas decor. And he starts spying on the children of the neighborhood, seeing if they've been good or bad. And essentially he starts murdering people as Santa.
This kid who was scarred from this, like, childhood thing becomes like a recluse murder Santa.
And toy maker as well. But this is the thing. I'm not excusing any of his actions, but it's a film in which he basically only kills bad people, and he's very friendly to children. He actually leaves presents for some of these children, though he does leave a bag of dirt for a bad boy. And he drops toys off at a hospital, and he's very nice to everybody at the hospital.
Merry Christmas!
Where did you come from? I mean, who sent you?
That's a very long story. I assume all the little children have been good this year.
Of course.
Well, you'd better get some more help.
You'd better get some of the staff. I'll wait here. Can I ask who donated all this?
Some people who didn't realize how generous they could be. Now, all you have to do is say, Merry Christmas, little boys and girls! Merry Christmas, everyone!
Merry Christmas, Santa Claus!
Even though he is killing these people. He kills somebody with a hatchet in the movie.
Does he dress as Santa while he's murdering?
Oh, absolutely, because he believes he's Santa. And
does he believe Santa's, like, thing is, like, killing bad? Is it bad kids or bad adult people?
Adult people. He doesn't harm any children in the movie. One of my things in horror movies is I really don't like violence against children, and so I'm very upset if a child dies in a movie that's a horror movie. Mm-hmm. I think if it's a plot of a film, like, I also know that films are not real. I'm an adult. Yeah, I know. Shocking. But like, I just don't like it. It's just one of my things. So you get to the end of the movie. He has a van that he's painted a sleigh on the side of. So he's riding around town in a sleigh.
Sure.
His brother Phil confronts him, and he's like, listen, like, this childhood trauma you have, that was our dad, like, in a Santa costume. But his brother, it's basically too late. And his brother quickly realizes, oh fuck, this is the homicidal Santa that's been on the news. He like knocks his brother out because he doesn't want to, and he drives off, and essentially the town at this point has figured out who he is. And in the campiest sort of ending, and I don't want to give everything away, he starts being chased by the people of the town with torches, much like an old horror movie.
Yeah.
And then his van accidentally drives off a bridge. And I'm not going to tell you what happens from there, but let me tell you, he's Santa. And that's why I love this movie. The audacity of the last few seconds of this movie are so, I don't even know how to describe it. And it's so cheap looking and so amazing, and it's just weirdly heartwarming. And it's,
wow, who knew you can get heartwarming murder.
And also during the end, then the night before Christmas is narrated over what happens. It's only to see, you have to see it to believe it. Really, genuinely. This is also John Waters' favorite Christmas movie. I had seen and known this before. I'd seen and loved this movie before I knew this, but when I found out it was a Christmas movie, I was like, of course!
Hi, I'm John Waters, and well, if it's Thanksgiving on, there's only one movie to ever watch at Christmas. It's called Christmas Evil. It's a really heartwarming Christmas horror movie that I recommend for the whole family to really be appalled by on Christmas Eve.
As they say in The Santa Claus, seeing is not believing, believing is seeing.
Believing is seeing. And so if it's not incredibly gory, it's really not, and it's very cheap, so it's like laughably. Okay. So I would actually recommend, even if horror's not your thing, but you're looking for a little alternative Christmas movie, this'll maybe lightly warm the cockles of your heart.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I mean, I was thinking, like, is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians a good movie? No. But it's fun. Even like about 70% less musical numbers, even the Mexican Santa Claus movie is fun. Yeah. Were there other Santa movies that you wanted to mention?
There's one movie that I particularly hold in a high esteem, and I know nobody else really likes it. Most people don't even know about it. There is a 90s television musical starring Angela Lansbury called Mrs. Santa Claus.
Okay.
And it is all about Mrs. Claus. And it is so good. It's something from my childhood. It's from 1996, and I know it was billed as the first original musical written for television since Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella in 1957. It aired December 8th, 1996. I used to have it on VHS. I would watch it every year.
Wow.
I loved it so much. Charles Durning plays Santa Claus in it. There's three main elves led by Michael Jeter before he passed away, and I fucking love Michael Jeter. And the villain in it is Terrence Mann, and unfortunately it does the trope of, like, he didn't get one toy for Christmas, so now he's become the head of an evil toy shop that basically is using children for labor. But it's all set around she ends up in 1910 New York, and there's, like, maybe some embarrassing stereotypes in it, but it's also really about she starts rooming with a Jewish family, and she learns about Judaism, and then she also, like, there's a lot of talk about immigration in the film.
Wow.
A lot of talk about women's votes, unionizing, and the end of child labor. And so all these things are packed into this Christmas movie.
Come through, Mrs. Santa Claus.
Yeah, and I really like the musical numbers. I tried showing it to people last year. No, none of them were having it, and because they're all heartless monsters.
Right.
The
company you keep.
Yes, exactly.
I'm Mrs. Santa Claus, the invisible wife, and Mrs. Santa Claus needs a change in her life. I've been manning the business and planning each holiday plan, and I'm tired of being the shadow behind the great man.
It's such a sweet movie and really lovely, and like I'm not for much schmaltz in my life, but this movie,
Angela Lansbury does it for you.
Yeah, and she's, I don't know, it's
legend,
wonderful.
I wanted to mention this movie from 1979 called The Man in the Santa Claus Suit. It stars Fred Astaire.
Ooh.
And it's in his older days, and essentially he is like this mysterious owner of a costume shop, and spoiler alert, he's Santa. And he kind of magics his way into three different men's life. Essentially, he goes to three different guys and tells them, you should dress up as Santa this year.
Yes, gentlemen, may I help you? I want to rent a Santa Claus suit.
Yes, that's exactly what I need.
Oh, yes, I'd like one too, please.
Certainly, gentlemen. I'll be very happy to help you, this being Christmas and all.
And you just kind of follow the three of them and see what happens when they kind of like gain the spirit of being Santa. And yeah, it's like weirdly heartwarming and like cute, and also like old Fred Astaire just being like, that beard isn't good enough. We gotta find something perfect for you. And it's really cute, and I highly recommend it. Also, just Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah,
either of them. Watch them.
Yeah. I mean, I can't recommend them enough. I do love the original so much, and the remake is great. So
yeah, great. Love that for us.
Yeah.
Love that for Santa.
Love that for Santa. So our mixed review.
Yes. My 1-star review was for Santa Claus, the movie in 1985.
And my 1-star review was The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause from 2006, labeled a comedy.
I cannot believe it was in 2006. Jesus.
Yeah.
My 5-star review was The Santa Claus from 1994. That means that franchise was over 10 years old.
Yeah. Jesus, and there was a long time between the first and the second movie, actually.
Yeah.
And my 5-star review was 1980's Christmas Evil.
What the most Gavin pick that could.
Yeah, I was gonna say you knew what you were getting into.
True. I don't know what I expected.
Yeah. So I guess that brings us to our fast forward.
So looking ahead, I have to say I hated Christmas Chronicles so much.
Did you? Yeah. Once again, we try and be as current as possible, but I couldn't do it. And I know I watched my sister's, my brother-in-law, my sister's brother-in-law, who would, I guess by marriage be my brother-in-law. That sounds weird. I don't know how family works, but I watched him watch it on Thanksgiving, and I was just like, why are you doing this?
It's you know, they're trying to make like an edgy, cool, like the movie is basically him, Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa who fucks.
Santa who fucks, and he's like, I'm not fat, guys, like, and like, I don't say ho ho ho. I'm like, then what the fuck is your deal?
Yeah.
And like, the movie also seemed to be sponsored by Dodge Chargers, because literally, like, every chance they could get, it's like, we'll steal this Dodge Red Charger, and like, and it's such a good idea. Like, if you are kids and you see Santa on a roof and you sneak into his sleigh and like antics start.
Right.
But this characterization of Santa, he gets thrown into jail. They have like a jailhouse rock scene where Kurt Russell pretends to play the piano.
Yeah, well, Kurt Russell loves Elvis. Like, he played Elvis when he was younger, and so there, of course, that's always got to be in there.
Let's get this party started.
The snow is falling on the ground.
I think for going ahead and looking at Santa movies, I would love another, you know, like the stories about like wanting to believe and needing to believe and finding faith again. Like
right.
That to me is just like so pure, and thinking about like the scene in Miracle on 34th Street where it's like she gives him that fucking $1 and she's circled in God We Trust. I was just like, fuck it up. Yeah, I don't know. Or, just like, weird is fine.
Right.
But I don't know that you could, like, I don't want like a punk rock Santa. Like, I want just like a regular Santa. Put him in weird situations, fine. But like, even in, Santa Claus Conquers Mars, he's regular Santa dealing with like these weird fucking circumstances. I mean, Arthur Christmas, I think, was a very good, like, modern retelling of Santa Claus, and like, and again, a lot of, in that movie specifically, it's about like, you know, modernizing how we do Christmas and get Christmas done.
Yeah.
But it's, in the end, that movie is about, you know, they miss a child. One kid got, you know, skipped, and Arthur refuses, you know, every child matters, every kid counts, and even in Fred Claus, like, it has a good message of like, Fred tells Santa, there are no bad kids, you know, like there are misunderstood kids who are in shitty situations, who are doing their best. That shit like gets me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I agree. I think there's like a way to do Christmas movies or Santa movies that mean something and are interesting and are not just done. I mean, obviously, the Christmas Chronicles were a movie like that is made as a subversion of the Santa trope and everything.
Right.
But if there's no heart to it, it doesn't really. And that's even in my 5-star review, Christmas Evil. One of the reasons I like it is because he is nice to children, and he, you know, he's twisted, he's broken,
right?
But like he's doing the Santa thing,
right? And I think that's. I mean, now I want to see that, Gavin.
It's good. It's good. It's trashy.
Okay.
Yeah. Get some wine. Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to think, like, I would also just love, first of all, I would love to see movies starring a black Santa.
Yes. Yeah. Not just Whoopi. Though Call Me Claus sequel, I'm in for.
Where is the Call Me Claus sequel? We've been waiting.
If there could be 3 fucking Santa Claus movies, there could be a Call Me Claus 2.
Yeah, truly. Because Santa Claus is a magical, mystical, you know, being, like, he needs to be grounded in some way and have actually human connections.
Yeah.
But those human connections where it's not just like little boys and little girls do like, oh my God. And like, it's not, you know, because I think the reason why, Miracle on 34th Street is like, this is Santa who he lives in New York year round until he has to go deliver toys on Christmas Eve. And there's like a great moment where in the original, it's a girl from like Finland or something. And the mom character is like, she doesn't understand English. She just wanted to see you. Yeah. And then Santa starts speaking to her in her native tongue.
Well, young lady, and what's your name?
I'm sorry, she doesn't speak English. She's Dutch. She just came over. She's been living in an orphan's home in Rotterdam ever since. Well, we've adopted her. I told her you wouldn't be able to speak to her, but when she saw you in the parade yesterday, she said you were Santa Claus, as she calls you, and you could talk to her. Well, I didn't know what to do.
Hallo, ik ben blij dat je gekomen bent.
Oh, u bent Sinterklaas.
Ja, zeker.
Ik wist het wel. Ik was zeker dat u het zou begrijpen.
In the remake, the girl is deaf.
Right.
Hello, little one. How are you? Come.
Well. She's deaf. You don't have to talk to her. She just wanted to see you. Thank you.
You are a very beautiful young lady. What's your name? Sammy. That's a beautiful name.
I love that scene in the remake, and it's a brilliant update.
Yeah, and he starts signing to her, and I was just like, ah!
Yeah.
And, this Santa Claus is grounded, and it's about, like, and he's not even pretending to not be Santa. He's like, no, I'm Santa. And that's what gets him into trouble, where people are like, you're a crazy man, and you're gonna, like,
and
be dangerous.
And I do think that's another interesting element, like, that's really going to be explored. Like, if there were to do another Santa Claus movie, I like the idea of society, like an adult society, and it's even in The Santa Claus with Tim Allen, where he's an adult, and so therefore there's strict rules to things, and there's no magic, and so, there's no Santa Claus, there's no person on the roof. I like that concept that, like, you believe you're Santa Claus, you must be a crazy person and then being proven wrong.
Yeah, and it's not even about, like, I mean, most of these kids, like, with, in the Santa Claus and in Miracle on 34th Street, it's like, there's always that person's like, who cares? He thinks he's Santa Claus, but he's not hurting anybody.
Right.
And it takes like these like Grinch Scrooge characters who are like, trying to trick them into believing they're dangerous. And, like, they're mental cases. But even also thinking like, in the Santa Claus, he gets like shamed because he gets fatter.
Yeah.
Because he has like this big beard, and they think he's like losing it because they're like, oh, it's one thing, Scott, to say that you are Santa. It's another thing to dress up like him every day.
Right.
And he's like, fuck my drag, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that sort of brings us to the natural conclusion of this episode, that like the good Santa Claus movies are movies that sort of make you believe in something that maybe you perhaps...
Yeah. I mean, I just watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And
huge Santa Claus cameo in that.
Yeah. I mean, and that movie is about like, anyone can be Spider-Man.
Right.
And in this, in the Santa Claus movies, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was almost, the year Christmas almost wasn't. Anyone can be Santa Claus. We're all Santa Claus,
Right.
And it's about giving. And in that movie specifically, he doesn't have money to pay for his rent.
Right.
So all the and he tells Mr. Prune, I'm trying to teach kids that giving is good, and at the end, he doesn't have money to pay for his rent. And so this little kid's like, I'm going to call the kids and we'll give you all the like change and like allowance that we have so you can pay for your rent.
Yeah.
And they all come through and pay for his rent for him. And it's
Louie, are you crying?
I am like so emotional. We're all Santa Claus. Okay.
Yeah, we're all Santa Claus.
Just like, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe, at least these movies will make you want to believe.
The spirit of Christmas. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Thank you so much, guys, for coming.
Thank you.
That's the end of our episode.
So, where can you find us online? That's a good question. If you want to tweet at us, you can tweet at the Mixed Reviews.
Yes, make sure you go and vote there for our polls.
Yes.
We're also on Facebook. Just type in the Mixed Reviews.
Or you can listen to us everywhere. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Radio and Google Play Music, and I've noticed us pop up on some other independent podcast sites. Please listen to us there. And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher Radio, please rate and review us. I noticed we got another 5-star rating. No review, but that's fine. Ratings work too. And we love you guys, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you can send all my Christmas presents to the following address.
Just make sure you type in the password, Popogijo.
Popogijo is the password.
Thank you so much, Louie.
Yeah, of course.
I hope you have an excellent holiday.
You too. See you in the new year.
Yeah, we're coming back in the new year, and we're going to do our best of 2018.
Oh, man, I'm so excited.
Exactly. Get ready for that.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Santa baby, slip a sable under the tree for me. Been an awful good girl, Santa baby, and hurry down the chimney tonight. Santa baby.